Welcome to the Daily Freedomist Show. This is your host, Paul Gordon Collier, coming at you from Freedomist.com. This is the show that almost wasn't, but today managed to get our website up. We had our website. If you were visiting the website earlier today, you would have seen database error. Well, there are reasons for that, but I didn't get to do my full sort today on the Newswatch page, so I'll have to do that after the show because the site was down, so I couldn't sort from it. But I did manage to get what will be our 6 stories today, which we are going to get to in a little bit here. And I just want to welcome everybody to the show and let you know that next Thursday we have a plan, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that we are going to do our first ever episode of the Big Freedomist Show. So this is the Daily Freedomist Show, the Big Freedomist Show. That's where we have our editor Bill Collier, my identical twin, and we will be talking a lot more detail on the stories, some of the stories that I covered during the Daily Freedomist Show. Bill will pick the stories that we'll cover for this show. We'll go in a lot more detail for these stories than we do here. So keep your eyes and ears open for that, because that is coming. And without further ado, we're going to do we're doing our show a little early today, and I'm not sure that we might end up doing it more or less earlier at this time anyway. There's a lot of reason for it, but today I have somewhere that I have to be, and if I did a show at 12, I might miss where I have to be. So we're doing a little early. Better to do it early than not at all, right? Let's get to our first story. Alrighty. Daunte Wright shooting was result of mistaking gun for taser. That is our topic report for today. Now, we covered this story yesterday, and what I said yesterday was just too soon. Don't know anything. Don't know what's going on. Don't know who's a what's a who's it. I still haven't learned, and it may be out there. I may not have gotten the information, but I still haven't learned even what the arrest warrant was for Daunte Wright. But this is how we're covering it today. This is from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Chief officer meant to use taser, not firearm on Daunte Williams. The traffic stop that would end Daunte Wright's life played out on a Brooklyn Center police officer's body camera. Officers appeared to try to handcuff him. So we got a little bit of an excerpt here. The Minneapolis Bureau of Criminal Apprehension identified the officer as Kelly A. Potter, 48, who has been a police officer for 26 years. She has been put on leave. Now, I should note that that'll be paid leave. This is, Liz Navar. It took 3 people to write this one. Liz Navarrete, Stefan Montemayor, and Andy Menix. And then the excerpt here. The traffic stop that would end Daunte Wright's life played out on a Brooklyn Center police officer's body camera. Officers appeared to try to handcuff him. Then he slipped back into the driver's seat. A female officer yelled, "Taser, taser," and then fired her gun. Holy shit, I just shot him. Sorry for the language there. Once again, a black man died during a police encounter. In an instant, the world's focus on Minnesota shifted from the trial of Derek Chauvin to a new outrage that brought street protests, promises of reform, and anguish over a relentless pattern of deadly police misconduct. Well, the 3 people that wrote this definitely want to contribute to the outrage. They're not looking to, in any way, shape, or form, try to calm the situation. They're all about inflaming audiences. It seems this is Marat type language. If you know Marat is the rabble-rouser of the French Revolution that really enabled, in many ways, exactly, the terror that would come from Robespierre and others. Robespierre and Dante. And I believe both of them ended up getting, I know Robespierre did. I think Dante did as well. Maybe Dante went before Robespierre. Daunte, I don't know. I've heard this pronounced before. Daunte, so I'm not sure how he pronounced it. Daunte Wright shooting, officer mistook gun for taser. The fatal shooting of Daunte Wright was accidental, police say, as crowds defy a curfew. Then we have this headline from WCLU. Games involving Minnesota pro sports teams in MLB, the NBA, and NHL that were scheduled for Monday have been postponed in response to the fatal shooting. This is just the virtue signaling of the sports leagues that are going to put everything on hold because of this. And I tell you, I still need more information to make a final decision, but I would say that I'm just going to say I mean, I saw the video, but I don't know what to make of it. But I am inclined to believe that this is, dare I say it, race motivated, that this individual would not have received the treatment that he did. I know he went for the back seat, and there's a lot of fear there, and I don't know. I don't know that the color of his skin added to that fear or not. So I don't want to say that for sure, but I'm inclined to believe that this is, if anybody's going to be enraged, maybe this is a legitimate reason to be enraged. So I know that I critique these three people for writing the way they did, but they're writing in ways that they're saying a relentless pattern of deadly police misconduct. That's not true. Overwhelming majority, 99% of police encounters with everybody ends up without. And I'm no advocate. I'm going to say I don't have a thin blue line flag in my home. But this idea of a relentless pattern of deadly police misconduct is hyperbole, and it's hyperbole with a purpose, intended to inflame people. Because these folks that wrote this, I think, are pretty clear that they have an agenda, and it's not peace, it's not justice, and what the social justice folks are offering you is not peace, justice. It's war, unmitigated war. It's we will meet injustice with injustice. Well, I'm going to stop this one because, well, you keep watching this YouTube channel because I have another segment coming up on this, and that segment is right here. Let's get that ready. Let's get that queued up. You see the smiling Biden. I find these two stories, even though these are obviously related to the same story, I think that they both merit their own coverage. Biden pivots from BLM and declaring Minnesota police shooting no justification of violent riots. Topic report. Now that's the headline, but in general, this topic is really about Joe Biden and, well, the BLM and how he's responding here. Biden calls for investigation into Minnesota police shooting. I remember when Donald Trump said something about, well, let's wait to see the investigation. They said, well, you're racist. You're racist for even asking. You're racist for even asking to get the facts. It is now racist to ask for the facts. Now, Biden has done that, and at least to the insane credit of the green shirts, that's what I'm calling now, green shirts, they are turning on Biden and calling him a racist too. So at least they're consistent. President Joe Biden said, this is from ABC News, President Joe Biden said that the police shooting of Daunte Wright in a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota on Sunday was a really tragic thing that happened, and called for an investigation into the incident. The question is, was it an accident? Was it intentional? That remains to be determined by a full-blown investigation, Biden said. I think also the question was why did you immediately go to the taser? I don't know. I don't know. And how is it that you have the ability to pull a taser out of your pocket and not realize that it's a gun? I've had tasers in my hand and guns, and they're very different. And this is a woman. I would wager, if you were regularly training with your gun, whichever firearm you're using, your service revolver, whatever she used, whatever it was, a semi-automatic, whatever she used, if you're regularly training with it, there's no way that when you reach into your pocket and you say taser that you would not immediately realize, oh, that's a gun. So this goes to, again, the heart of to me, fundamental underlying problem of policing in America. First off, we ask them to do way too many things, and they never say no. I talked about this before. Police, why is it that even the right is turning against you? Because you never say no. When politicians say do, you jump like good little sheep, and you do. You just follow orders. Not only do you just follow orders, but apparently you don't do the due diligence training to be responsible potential dealers of death. If you're going to be a dealer of death, if you're going to be a legal dealer of death, such as that is, you should have the sense of stewardship responsibility to assure you know what the heck you're doing. And I seriously doubt that this woman knew what the heck she was doing and that she should have been serving in the first place. So, again, like I said, if you're watching this YouTube channel, you'll see that I did do another segment earlier on about the fact that she reached for a taser. So there's still more information. I do agree there needs to be more information that comes out. But right now, color me skeptical. And I saw a meme recently my brother Bill showed me where they're talking about all the excuses that police make when it comes to a shooting. And this just sounds like one of them. I thought it was a taser. Now, in the video, she is saying taser, taser. But is she saying taser, taser? And I don't know. There's a lot to be drawn from this. I will say this, of all the shootings and whatnots out there, some of them are very dubious as far as what a human being should be even upset. And I still stand by my statement that nobody should be just rushing out nobody should be burning businesses down, but nobody should be just rushing out on one report that says there was a cop shooting, and because it's a black man, we automatically assume the worst. I don't think we should do that. We also shouldn't assume the worst about either side at this point. But in this case, I think that it's hard to argue that these folks might need to be a little bit outraged, and these folks have had enough. I said in another video also, I have very little sympathy for the Antifa folks, the white, largely, I'll say at least largely suburban white folks who have decided that they're going to be outraged at the world, and they go out and they crack skulls and burn buildings down. I got little sympathy for them, little understanding for them at this point. I used to have more understanding for them than I do now, but I definitely have more understanding for the folks that are living in these inner cities, in these ghettos, in these communities, and what they have to deal with on a daily basis. It's not just, well, in large part it is the police, because the police are the ones enforcing all of these draconian laws on these folks. But in addition to that, there's all kinds of stuff going on in these communities that I can understand why it is that these folks at this point they're fed up. They had enough. The Republicans say bootstraps, and the Democrats say kill whatever is the power. Either one is not going to help you in the end. I'll leave it at that for now. Myanmar junta still failing to consolidate power. Put down revolt from coup. This is a topic report. And I've been following Myanmar for a while. And I switched from calling it Myanmar. I don't know. Maybe I've heard it many different pronunciations. So this is from I have two stories right in a row here from the Irrawaddy News Magazine. We have Myanmar military suffers heavy casualties in fierce fighting with ethnic armed groups. Fighting broke out between various ethnic armed groups and the Myanmar military at several locations in the country's north and northeast on Monday, resulting in heavy casualties to the military, including the death of a battalion commander, as well as the reported capture of some of their soldiers. Fierce clashes between the Kachin Independent Army, the KIA, and the Tatmadaw Myanmar military took place around Dok Phang Yen in Kachin State's Mumauk Township. Tensions have been rising since the KIA seized Alao Bo base on March 25th near the Chinese border, which was previously occupied by the Tatmadaw. KIA Information Officer Colonel Nao Bu told the Irrawaddy that the Tatmadaw launched several airstrikes over 4 days in their efforts to recapture the base from the KIA. And then you have this story, which is just going to get more and more people legitimately outraged and on the streets and committed to not signing up for whatever garbage these junta folks are trying to sign you up for. Girl 7 shot at Myanmar regime forces attack protesters near Indian border. A 7-year-old girl was shot when Myanmar regime forces launched an hours-long assault on Tamu, Sagang region early Monday. The attack followed the deaths of soldiers in the town over the weekend as residents resisted earlier raids. The girl's condition was not known, according to a resident of the town near the Indian border, who said the 7-year-old was shot when she went outside her home after shooting erupted in her community. The number of casualties was also unconfirmed, as many residents have fled their homes and are now in hiding. Monday's raid started at 5:45 a.m. and gunfire was heard for at least 6 hours, according to residents. I tell you, it's these military groups here, the KIA and whatnot. They're going to be the first ones that are going to start. When you see the drones whipped out, I'm waiting to see the drones. Still waiting for the drones to come on board. UNC Syria echoes in Myanmar conflict. I don't believe, and I'll have to think about this more, because I don't know as much about the geopolitical relations between Myanmar. You got Myanmar here. There's Myanmar, and you got China up here. And then you got India over here. And these are the two main powers to consider. And we have issues. Even Australia over here is having... Is that Australia? Australia over here is having issues. And what's going on in some of these countries, including Australia and India, is you have refugees. Not even, in some cases, refugees, migrants as they're calling them, which is better than calling anybody an illegal alien. You should never call anybody an illegal alien. That Australia and India seem to be working towards deporting. They're going to send them back to Myanmar under these conditions. I tell you, if you're Christian, you definitely shouldn't be for that. You should not be for sending the sojourner off into a hell situation. This is one of our fundamental tenets of our faith, is that we should treat the sojourner with love, because we ourselves are sojourners, and since we're grafted into the vine of Israel, in that sense, we are also descendants, spiritual descendants of sojourners. And then we got UNC Syria. Well, I already went through that. Taiwan takes tougher line against Myanmar regime. That's good to see Taiwan stepping up. I think it's in your best interest to do so. And Myanmar's unsustainable social media shutdown, and more stories there. And you go to Freedomist.com and you can read all the stories on this topic. And I feel that we're probably going to be following this story for a while. I don't know if it'll be a topic story every day or not, but maybe for a while. We'll see. Get to our next story here. Corporate nationalists collude to impede the American democratic process in response to voter rights laws. This is a topic report. Corporations are not... I thought it was... I chose this image because this is like an image from the quote-unquote left, which is now, ironically, they're now relying on corporations for their power. Suddenly they're very corporate friendly, and notice that the right is suddenly not very corporate friendly, because it's all about the reality of power. People are understanding when corporations seem to reflect your values, you'll be pro-corporation. When they don't reflect your value, well, by values I mean the vehicle of power that you can enter into that advances your factional interests. And that's why you see nobody's being schizophrenic, nobody's being inconsistent. They're being very consistent. It's just that you're trying to understand people from a perspective of ideal rather than reality of power. In the reality of power, you can absolutely see why it is that suddenly conservatives are anti-corporate and suddenly leftists are, yay, mega corporations, yay, mega faceless international corporations dictating to everyone what their morality should be. And that's what this really is. And it's more than that. Now they're going into politics. Top CEOs met on Zoom, over 100, oh, here it is, more than 120 CEOs met on Zoom to mount new voting legislation effort, to mount new low vote. This is a political party now. There is a new political party, and it's called the Corporate Nationalist Party, and the only people that are in the Corporate Nationalist Party are the CEOs and the very, very top shareholders, the billionaires. This is your new political party. They don't have primaries. They have no accountability. They have monopolies, so they don't have to worry about actually delivering services to customers, so they don't have to worry about that. You've got to use their services no matter what. You've got to be employed by them no matter what. This is quote-unquote cooperation. This is the spirit of cooperation. This is why I'd outline the 3 methods of value exchange, and all of action is a form of value exchange the way I see it. And they are coercive, They're cooperative or they're consensual. I'm seeking consensual value exchange, and everybody else around me, well, not everyone, but a huge chunk of people, whether they're on the left or on the right, seem to be fine with cooperative value exchange. Now, the left is in favor of coercive and cooperative value exchange, but they like cooperative value exchange for the same reason that everybody else does. It's soft tyranny. It's less obvious tyranny. It costs people a lot less money to apply. Well, it costs a lot of money getting to that point, but once you get to that point where you have monopolistic control over any form of power, that's when cooperative exchange takes place, and that's when you have soft tyranny, and that's what we have right now. And this just makes it all the more obvious. The meeting, which took place Saturday via Zoom, was organized by Yale School of Management professor Jeffrey Sonnenfeld in conjunction with the Coalition for Inclusive Capitalism and the Leadership Now Project. That's really just, words like capitalism, socialism, whatever. I'm not so interested in them, except for I do advocate for my brother's form of capitalism, but I'll let him describe that to you. And maybe you'll watch this video. We're going to have that show, the Big Freedomist show, and he'll talk to you more about that. And then we have corporations can't take freedom just because they're not government. This is from the Federalist. If you want to take over the world, build an American corporate empire to monopolize the public square and ban dissent. Then form a corporate coalition of like-minded peers who graduated from the same elite universities. They're the same rich families, too. Let's not forget same billionaire families, where wokeism is indoctrinated as a secular religion. They don't really care about this. They don't really care about this. This is just a really great vehicle of power for them. This is basically anti-competitivism. This is monopolism. There's moral monopolism and material monopolism, and they're going for both. And there's nothing more powerful than when you can use some moral constructs to tyrannize over the many and empower the few to tyrannize over the many. And significant portions of the many will do your bidding, largely because they'll buy the moral constructs that give them the power to murder their neighbors for reasons that are far beyond, from a Christian perspective, the Romans 13 paradigm of when the state can and should use coercive force, coercive action against others. More than 100 of the nation's top corporate leaders met virtually on Saturday to discuss ways for companies to continue responding to the passage of more restrictive voting laws across the country. CBS News reported in a signal that the nation's premier businesses are preparing a far more robust, organized response to the ongoing debate. Now, this isn't a debate. This is takeover. This is the takeover of the political sphere by our international corporatists, our corporate nationalists that have no accountability to the people whatsoever. And they just want to have their cake and eat it too. And so far, they have. Hope you're paying attention to this story, because this story could become more and more relevant to you as time goes on. Semiconductor shortage in U.S. is starting to cost jobs, drive up costs. This is a topic report. Dallas, huh? Dallas real time. This is a stock picture here, so I didn't pick it for any reason. It's just a semiconductor. Don't read anything into it just because it says Dallas, whatever that might mean. Parts shortage forces months-long layoffs for thousands at Kansas City Ford GM plants. This is from Kansas City Star. A global shortage of semiconductors has halted the production at both of Kansas City's major auto factories, General Motors' Fairfax plant and Ford's Claycomo. Did I say Fairfax? I like it. A new car hasn't rolled off the line of General Motors' sprawling Kansas City, Kansas factory in more than 2 months. The factory, which makes the Chevrolet Malibu sedan and the Cadillac XT4 crossover SUV, has been crippled by a global shortage of semiconductors that has hit the nation's automakers particularly hard. Computer chips, which power many of the technological features of today's newer cars, have been in short supply throughout the pandemic, when sales of personal computers skyrocketed as millions of people transitioned to learning and working at home. Cost of TVs and smartphones expected to go up amid global semiconductor shortage. Consumers may soon have to fork out more for electronic devices due to a global microchip shortage affecting various industries. This is from Cape Talk. Experts anticipate that an industry-wide semiconductor shortage could continue until 2022 or later. It'll continue. If they raise the prices and people keep buying, it will continue because they're not. I'll just say that, you know what? I won't get into that. I'll just say that their motivations are not at all. They're void of any sense of stewardship about the power and advantage that they have in life. The shortage was caused by a range of factors, including the COVID-19 pandemic, a fire at a Japanese chip maker factory, the closure of a U.S. chip manufacturer due to the Texas winter storm, and the added delays caused by the Suez Canal blockage. The microchips are needed to make everything from cars and washing machines to game consoles, remotes, and even pregnancy tests. Wow, even pregnancy tests affected. Tech expert Alistair Fairweather says the semiconductor shortage could push the cost of smart TVs and smartphones up by 20 to 25%. Tough road ahead for the U.S. firms trying to cut reliance on Taiwan chip makers. Asian countries produce more than 70%. See, that's the big reason. They didn't even mention Taiwan. Should have. Asian countries produce more than 70% of global semiconductors, with Taiwan and South Korea being unrivaled in high-end chip manufacturing capacity. And this is our political leaders, our market leaders in the United States that over and over and over again have surrendered American sovereignty, American self-reliance for profit, and to be able to make money outside of the United States of America so they can convert from being service providers to makers of humans. And that's what they want to do. They want to get in the business of making humans. Do it thanks in large part to this system, this worldwide system that they come up with. How it is that China could threaten the United States with death over the COVID crisis is because we handed all of our critical medical needs over to China. China is a fascistic, communistic, they blend fascism and communism like nobody. Fascistic, communistic, capitalistic, they got all three blended together. Ruthless regime that murders people for being gay. And this is who the corporations have chosen to largely depend on. China's Hawaii tries to blame global chip shortage on U.S. sanctions. Yeah. That's from CNBC. Biden, U.S. must step up our game amid semiconductor shortage. Okay, great. So there you go. That's that. And I got our last story coming up here, folks. Another one you should be paying attention to. Iran nuclear facility attack calls upcoming U.S.-Iran nuclear talks into question. This is a topic report. Attack on Iran stirs fear for future of nuclear talks. And that's from the Wall Street Journal. Iran accused Israel of orchestrating an attack on its main nuclear facility that stirred fears for the future of talks involving Washington and Tehran. Iran on Monday accused Israel of orchestrating an attack on its main nuclear facility that stirred fears for the future of talks involving Washington and Tehran over a deal to constrain the Islamic Republic's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. The attack in Iran's Natanz nuclear facility, which destroyed a number of centrifuges and caused an electric blackout, occurred as U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was visiting Israel and was preparing to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Top Biden administration officials apparently were given no advance notice of the attack against the Iranian uranium enrichment facility, according to people familiar with this. This is, was it the Wall Street Journal? Yeah, don't believe them. I have no idea. They could just make this out of their, they could just like, they're at the point now where most of these news media outlets now where they don't even do research half the time. So, they write something down and they're like, what we can do, we can say things like, according to unnamed sources, even if we don't have any. And then we could say, this is the prevailing view or whatever, even when it's not. So I don't know if they really have any connection. I mean, sure, they have plenty of connections in the government because the government and the media and the corporations, they're all one big happy family. But I don't know. I don't know that people familiar with the situation actually said that to them. I think they may have just written that. Or the CIA told them. I'm just kidding. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Israel made a very bad gamble at nuclear plant from Iran. Iran's foreign minister said Tuesday, Times of India is writing this. Iran's foreign minister said Tuesday that Israel made a very bad gamble if it believed its alleged sabotage at the Natanz nuclear plant would stop. Okay, I don't know how I got that. Okay. Iran's nuclear chief Ali Akbar Saleh, one day before the Natanz nuclear facility blast, we have activated full IR-6 centrifuge chain. We have enrichment capacity of 16, so that's 16, whatever, I don't know what any of these means, 16500 SWU, more than before the JCPOA. So this happened a day before the attack. Ali Akbar Salehi, head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, said that Iran has activated a full chain of 164 IR-6 centrifuges in the Natanz nuclear facility. I don't know what that means. Middle East Media Research Institute, Ali Akbar Salah, head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran. Okay, so this is the statement here that came out a day before the attack. All right. Retired Navy Admiral, good guy, totally good guy or gal, I don't know, says U.S. looks, and being sarcastic, either complicit or ignorant in Iran's nuclear facility blackout. That's really good. You really love your country. I mean, you served in the Navy as an admiral, and you find it okay for you to tell the world press that the U.S. looks either complicit or ignorant, whether they're true or not. That says a lot about your character. While nothing is definitive, all indications are pointing to the fact that Israel was behind a cyber attack that knocked out power at Iran's Natanz uranium enrichment facility. U.S. distances itself from alleged attack on Iran's nuclear site. World powers have sought to distance themselves from an alleged attack on Iran's main uranium enrichment facility that threatens to complicate talks to revive the nuclear talks. You don't need to read it all. Explainer how this voices, that was Financial Times. This is Voices of America. Iran's nuclear program has been targeted by diplomatic efforts and sabotage attacks over the last decade, with the latest incident striking its underground Natanz facility. These people at Voices of America are not. They're not very voicey, and they're not very America. They're not very pro-America, I'll just say. Iran's nuclear program has been targeted. Okay, the attack Sunday on Natanz comes as world powers try to negotiate a return by Iran and the U.S. to Tehran's atomic accord. The sabotage threatens to upend these negotiations and further heighten regional tensions across the Mid-East. And then finally, White House, U.S. not involved in Natanz incident. Nuclear talks to continue as planned. And there you have it. There's your stories. And there you have it, folks. And I think that I'm actually going to do this from now on. I'm just going to do the 6 topic stories. I know I had it up where I was doing 9 stories, and that's just too long. And then I'm also going to do these stories where I'm going to talk up to 5 minutes-ish now instead of 3 to 4 minutes. So that's the changes that's going to make the show going forward. So tomorrow, it'll be 6 stories, and the 6 stories will be more or less in the 4 to 5 minute range instead of the 3 to 4 minute range. So I need to talk a little bit longer. It just was really hard to get anything significantly meaningful out 3 to 4 minutes, at least for me. So with that, I say thank you very much for watching the show. We will be back at about the same time, roughly speaking about, we're going to say between 11 a.m. and noon is when we're going to have the show from now on until I can settle in on this specific time. And then Thursday, starting not this Thursday, but next Thursday, remember to go to this channel, this Freedomist channel that you're watching right now. And, well, you should subscribe if you're not, and then you can be sure that you get the notification, because, of course, YouTube will, of course, notify you. And stop by and visit when we do the first ever live stream show of the Big Freedomist Show. That's coming up next Thursday. Tomorrow, another edition of the Daily Freedomist Show. We'll see you then.